So hey, that's Neo mode. You can get that at infiniteplanesociety.com. We have links to all the music that we play here. We need to do a follow-up to Mousegate. We're not letting that go. It's not a video compression artifact. It's not frozen oxygen. It's not a real mouse in outer space, but it's somewhere in between. And we're not going to let it go. A mouse on the outside of the CRS-19 Dragon SpaceX rocket proves it's all a farce. That's one of the things we want to talk about. Two, after we drew attention to the mouse, to Mousegate, as we predicted, Glowbusters came out and they said, no, it's not a mouse. In fact, we were told it was pareidolia by Bilu. Pareidolia. Basically, we're crazy, is what we were basically told to believe. And I have some quotes from them. What he said was, for me, it's not a rat. Jaren explained it as, oh, there's always constant white things flying off the rockets. Bob, the computer hacker, said, I don't know, I go back and forth. It's very pronounced ears like Mickey Mouse. Anyway, Bilu then says, well, for me, it's just pareidolia effect in the aluminum. Someone asks, what's pareidolia? Basically, it means you're crazy and you're seeing things. It's a gaslighting term, psychological phenomenon that causes people to see patterns in random stimulus. This often leads to people assigning human characteristics to objects. Human characteristics to objects. No, what we're looking at, though, is obviously a mouse. And that was their explanation. Pareidolia. Now, the thing is, that was the mouse from CRS-19 that was launched on December the 5th. But here is another one. This is another SpaceX rocket with another mouse. And this is from Critical Inception. Now this one does it. This seals the deal. This seals the deal. This is not ice. It's not a frozen video compression artifact. And you're not going to be able to see it on the screen. So what I'm going to do, what I've already done actually, is I posted this at infiniteplanesociety.com. So if you go to infiniteplanesociety.com and you get on my newsletter, you'll get these videos directly to your inbox so you can see for yourself. But on the right side, what you'll see, unlike the last mouse that ran a lap around it, this one goes out, he looks at the camera, and he goes back in. This is from, let me see the date on it. And the mouse appears at 21 minutes and 32 seconds. I think this is from January the 4th, but I'm going to give you a link. So there's a little mouse on the bottom right, and like I said, I'm not going to zoom in a lot for you. Hashtag Mousegate, yep. Same ears, same nose, same proportions. It's still like the other mouse. It maintains its integrity. It doesn't fall apart as it moves around, even though it's supposedly ice moving at Mach 8. He looks up, turns around, and he goes back whence he came. And he goes beneath this rod here, which the last one did as well, which shows you, no, it's not a smudge, Red's rhetoric. It's kind of funny if you go to Twitter. Mousegate is exploding. It really is. So, again, go to infiniteplanesociety.com, and right on the page, right there, I put a close-up of the previous mouse that started Mousegate. Well, what does it mean when we see another one and it looks the same? Now I'm starting to think that this isn't a CGI mouse, but this is an actual mouse in a warehouse, and SpaceX needs an exterminator. But I put it right there on the front page. I mean, it is what your eyes tell you it is. It moves like a mouse. It walks like a mouse. I mean, that is a mouse. It's a wharf rat, is what I think. But it's not the only one. So Mousegate's not going away. Lean Dion says no visuals. Well, look, like I said, go to infiniteplanesociety.com on your own time. Open it in your browser. You can go on your phone. And I have mouse number 1 from the 5th on the home page. And then if you go to news, I have mouse number 2. So let's continue. Now, this is just kind of interesting. So, there's a group of flat earthers who are traveling across the country, invading malls, and what they're doing is passing out literature. And I thought this was interesting because, well, when I saw this piece here that's being passed out, I was like, wait a minute, look what they're mixing up here. It says, "Welcome to Flat Earth. Here are some great YouTuber sites. Truth Seeker 69, which Truth Seeker 69, that's kind of odd to me. I don't know why. Uh, Glowbusters, ODD Reality, Rob Skiba, Photo Helix, another sex offender, funnily enough, Call for an Uprising, aka Russian Vids. Anyway, it goes through a list of these, and it says here, these sites are being removed by YouTube quickly. Download and save them before they're gone. The flat earth is but the first step in your journey. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So they're traveling the country, spreading the gospel of flat earth, but now you're being told, no, flat earth is just level 1. So if that's where you're at, you got to go a little deeper now. It says, beyond the flat earth, there's something called the Mandela Effect also occurring. But that's another subject. Don't get lost down any one rabbit hole or situation. Just realize you've been deceived and it's time to wake up. Do your part, copy this CD. I don't even have it. When was the last time anyone here has ever owned a CD player? Give it to your friends and family. I encourage you in your journey. Believe Jesus said, let them with eyes to see, and ears to hear. May God bless you in the end of days times. It actually says end of days times. So now they're passing out CDs explaining how we're in the end of times and that you got to figure out the earth is flat, the Mandela effect is real, and come to Jesus because the end is near. So this is total garbage. It looks like it was, I don't know, printed out. It looks like it was torn, like she didn't have scissors. Anyway, this is being passed out in malls. Like, this is a doomsday cult, a flat earth Mandela effect doomsday cult. What kind of baloney is this? Just thought I'd point that out to you. And we do have to do something about it. We really do. As in, compete. If that's the vision of what this idea means, we should probably correct it. The Mandela effect has long since been debunked. Has anyone seen this one? See, I don't believe you can just say it's either or, Jif or Jiffy, Luke, I'm your father, or I'm your father, Luke. It has to be open to multiple possibilities if you're open to the multiverse. So there must be a timeline where it actually goes, Luke, I am your mother. There has to be. I mean, if you're going to go by the ill logic, which frames the Mandoozled universe. Anyway, thanks for joining. Share the stream if you just got here. We're just doing some updates. Mousegate continues. It has not been debunked. It has not been debunked. We don't have pareidolia. They have denial. Their eyeballs are processing it. They're looking at a mouse on the rocket, and we're saying it's a mouse, and they're mad at us because there shouldn't be a mouse there. It's not my fault. Yeah, the Transdela effect, just kind of a joke. Although we have granted them special status. Transdimensionals. You can't offend their beliefs. Okay, now this one's even worse. So the rats on the space station, rats on the outside of the rocket, bubbles in space, that's all pretty bad, but this is the worst one ever. And this is from Flathead Politics, who is the best space station debunker on YouTube. Okay, so here's Peg Whitman. Okay, now here's what we're seeing. This one's great. This is supposed to be some type of a drone in space. And it's supposed to be losing power on its gyroscope and then it falls. So what you're seeing here, according to NASA, is this drone losing its power source and then falling. Seems legit, right? You're supposed to believe this thing is floating in zero space, and then, of course, and I'll read you the description here. NASA's internal drone falls when the power is cut off. That's what we're told. But having watched this several dozen times, what you actually see here is a web of wires. There's a wire from each of the walls and 3 or 4 wires from the ceiling that you don't really see unless you watch it repeatedly and you keep your eye focused on that particular area. But this is probably one of their worst attempts at faking zero G environments. Like up here on the right, I mean, you literally see multiple wires. So I'm going to give you a link in the chat below. And of course, like I said earlier, if you're subscribed to the infiniteplainsociety.com email, or if you're on Patreon, you'll get these links. This is a new video, just came up a couple days ago. It's been hit about 1,000 times. Yeah, you can see stuff on the ceiling shaking back and forth when the ball falls down. I'm looking through comments here. Okay, so it's the INT ball used by JAXA. Now it says here it's 5.9 inches in diameter. Inside is a 3-axis control unit that uses reaction wheels to orient the robot. So one of the things the designers had to figure out was how to orient this thing in space. On Earth, a simple accelerometer can be used to determine up and down because of gravity, but on the ISS, since everything is in free fall, a drone could easily lose track of up and down aboard the space station. That's why JAXA included pink marker targets. So the ball's camera is using these objects on the wall to maintain its orientation. So this is someone explaining how it's supposed to work. But what we actually have here is a hoax because it's dangling from a bunch of wires. Yeah, it's dangling from wires, and it's very obvious. They're trying to obscure the wires with probably chroma key. But whatever it is, here's a link. More hoaxery. It's all fake. Now, speaking of the fake station, I came across something else somewhat concerning here. And like I said, we predicted it. The bozos over there at Glowbusters defended the mouse in space. They took sides with Red's rhetoric and Fight the Flat Earth. They said, no, it's not a mouse. It's an artifact. I don't know if anybody wants to see this. I don't know if you need to see it. But a minute ago, I was showing you the end times flat earth Mandela Effect tract being passed around in the shopping malls of America. Here's the person doing the passing out of that doomsday track.
Why would they tell me that you were filming?
I was not filming. I don't know why they got that impression.
If there's anything posted that has my daughters on there, I need you.
Now, if you can't hear it, you hear a gentleman saying, if there's anything posted on YouTube that has my daughter on it, you're going to hear from me.
Information right now, because I will track you down.
So yes, she may be nervously picking her nose, but she's being lectured by some guy, do not let my daughter show up on YouTube. And interestingly enough, she's in the YouTube right now in the chat room, and she's getting advice from Authentic Intent, who said, no, where you're at, it's one party consent and you can be the consenter, so you can videotape that guy's daughter all you want. Anyway, if you want access to this great content, you go to timosmond.space. You don't have to. I mean, of course, I'll read you this blog and everything I post live every day. This is kind of my notebook. But you can access this material for yourself. Anything that I talk about, you can generally find the links here. So here's the next thing I want to talk about. Dearth bearing false witness about the space station and ISS transits. Okay, so let's start with this. This is the most peculiar thing. So, right after I talked about how the mouse in space thing would debunk the SpaceX, so these guys won't talk about it, and it was right, this came out. And it's called ISS versus Wandering Stars. And what we have here is deep inside the rabbit hole is suggesting that the space station is in fact a wandering star. And this pattern, which is not the pattern it makes, is meant to show that this is synonymous with all the other wandering stars. So, what he says here is the ISS that crosses the entire skyline is as bright as a light as anything else in the night sky, and nobody ever sees it approach the sun or moon. It's a parlor trick or whatever. Anyway, he goes on about the explanation for what we're seeing up in the sky, but it gets a little convoluted because, on the one hand, he says there's a pre existing object, which he calls a wandering star. What do you notice when comparing the ISS planets and the wandering stars? There's a lot of similarities. Too bright to be reflecting the sun so brightly and evenly, and they both follow a consistent pattern across the sky. So, what is his point here? He's saying that the space station that people are reporting to see is actually a wandering star, which I find kind of perplexing. Because if it's a wandering star, that is, if it's just like all the others and it's a supposed luminary, how come you can only see it for a brief moment at sunset or sunrise? Because it's going into the Earth's shadow. I mean, what's the explanation here? And then, two, in the transits, what you see isn't a glowing object, it's a dark object shaped like one of these TIE fighters. So, I want to go through the comments here because a number of people are talking about this thing as though there is something up there. And that's what I find to be kind of shilly here. In other words, it doesn't make sense what he's suggesting with this because he's talking about the transits. What he says here is when we see the light in the sky, they tell us it's the ISS and it's the brightest object in the sky aside from the sun or the moon. But when we're shown footage of the crew doing a spacewalk, it's normally lit. The ISS has a course that's as reliable and predictable as any wandering luminary. So there's a couple of things here I wanted to bring up. One, yeah, we know it's the size of a 747. We know it's 250 miles away, so you really shouldn't be seeing it. Like I think this alone debunks the transits. We know it's said to be following this course, and the app matches it. But as I said in my debate with Red's Rhetoric, because he said, well, of course there's a flying space station because there's an app. And my response was, well, there's an app that shows you that there's a Pokemon under your bed. I mean, they can program the app to tell you something is up there. It doesn't mean it's up there. I think you can even track Santa on an app. So, that doesn't work for me. But, in this case, we're told, that this thing is up there making this journey every 90 minutes. And what he says here, and this is a quote from Dearth, is that it has a reliable and predictable course. And like I'm saying, does it? I don't think it does. I don't think it's as easy to see as they say. There aren't as many videos of this thing transiting as people say. And I've been trying for months. I've had people saying they're going to go check. They check their app and they look and they don't see it. Not one person that I know who has tried, multiple times to see the ISS according to the app has seen anything. One person reported seeing a light, but it was very slow moving and it was 10 minutes late. So the answer is no. We've had a few people lie. It's kind of weird how people will lie. When I got to, auto hoaxing pretty much reflexively, there was that attack in Nice an Allah Akbar in a truck, ran over some people, and I said, that looks like a rubber dummy. And some guy in the chat room says, hey, that's my girlfriend. If you were in Germany and you said that to me, I would be beating you up right now. And I'm like, wait, I'm an obscure YouTube channel and I'm criticizing the news coverage of something, and you're saying that that person that I'm talking about that just got run over by a truck is your girlfriend. What are you doing on YouTube? Why aren't you at the hospital? And that's one of the times I realized that people will lie. People will lie their asses off reflexively. And so, right, I'm like, man, you got to go give her CPR. There's still hope. I'm watching on TV. I still see her leg kicking. What are you doing trying to shut me up? But anyway, these lying people, these lying liars. For example, Nummy Num is a YouTuber, and I only name him because he was gaslighting me. He was lying pretty hard. Where one night he said, you need to stop denying the existence of the space station because I see it every night. On my way to work, I see it. I see it on my smoke break. Every 90 minutes, I time myself to see it. So this guy claims that every 90 minutes, he goes outside and he watches the space station fly over his house. And I'm like, what do you mean? You see like a streak of light? And it goes horizon to horizon? And he says, yeah. But then he kind of backs up and he's like, well, I don't know if it's a space station, but it's a light. I'm like, so you're seeing a light and it's coordinated with the app every 90 minutes and you're uncertain? And he's like, all I know is it's a light. So I have him call me. He defends it. I call him an agent. I call him a liar because I'm like, man, I don't know why you're lying. I can't tell you how I know you're lying, but I know you're a lying ass liar. Well, it turns out he's a liar. You can't see the space station except at dawn and dusk because it would be in the Earth's shadow. So his whole story about seeing it 5 or 6 times a night, impossible. So then the question is, why would some supposedly or seemingly nice Canadian be up all night calling my live stream to spread misinformation? And obviously he's being paid by the government. Obviously it's an agent. It's a government agent being paid in order to sow misinformation and to mess with your heads. That's why if you see him in the chat, he generally gets banned because I don't really understand it. Like, when do we stop giving people a pass? When do we stop giving them a pass? When somebody says, I was abducted by an alien, like that used to give you street cred 20 years ago, now you get laughed at. Spotting Bigfoot 30 years ago, street cred, now it's nothing. Now it's a laugh line. So, when do we call somebody's miracle a joke? Hey, I saw Santa. I saw Ed McMahon handing out checks. I saw Bigfoot. Hey, my lawn gnomes come to life at night. I saw unicorns. I saw an angel. Like, to me, these are all things that ought to be outside of the whole quote truth community. The truth community, to be quite honest, is a superstitious cult. It's pretty much a religion. Anyway, let's move on. My contention here is this. Deep inside the rabbit hole is trying to claim that the space station is actually a planet or a wandering star just like Mars or Venus, and that NASA invented the space station in order to cover it up. And why would he cover it up? Because its orbit wouldn't make sense and it would contradict the heliocentric model or something. And I'm wondering, well, why would you come up with this? I've never seen it. I don't know anybody who's seen it. I only know a few people, very questionable people, who have filmed it. Red's Rhetoric and Jaron, pretty much. The rest of it is just from NASA. And what's funny is they all look the same. And don't think that these things aren't being faked on the regular. And I'm not going to do it now, but if you do a search for yourself, there was this time where people were capturing the ISS left and right. And some of the early ISS transits are totally fake, where you can see it like spinning in space. You see the front side of it and the back side of it. I mean, it's just so obviously faked. Like, well, how's it even lit? They use that old George Lucas Star Wars tech where it's just a Lego model hanging from a fishing line in a dark garage, and they just swing the camera by it. So fake. Anyway, someone had done this transit of the space station crossing in front of Saturn, and NASA published it, and everybody patted him on the back, and they said, "See, look, it's all true." Then later it turns out it was fake. NASA deletes it. Like, it's so easy to fake these things, but nobody questioned it. And the thing is, if it hadn't been exposed as a hoax, you'd have people like Red's Rhetoric calling me dumb for calling it fake, even though now we know it's fake. It's like the Jussie Smollett thing. Am I a hater because I called it a hoax? Well, no, I'm right. But for the first 23 hours of that hoax, I would have been a hater and a racist. But then we figured out it was a hoax. So I've been vindicated. Okay, so let's continue. So my thing is this: there is no space station. There's nothing up there orbiting 90 minutes. There just isn't. There's no light that we all see. And yet, Dearth is always insisting that we all see it. Raise your hand if you've actually seen it. With the exceptions of people like Nummy Num and a few other scattered disinfo agents and liars, nobody here can say they actually saw it. And if somebody says they have seen it, I always hold them to it. They'll say, "Oh, I saw it," or "I saw a light." And they give themselves some wriggle room. And I'm like, "Well, tell me your longitude, latitude, and the time, and the angle, and what direction it approached from." Because you would instantly know these details if you caught it as a transit. And to date, not one person who has said that they used their little ISS Pokemon locating app and recorded the thing, not one person has been able to produce any evidence. Not one. I've had people send me videos of a light, but no comments. And I'm like, well, hey, you're going to send me a video of this. Clearly, it's an airplane. At least show me how it corresponds to the app. And every single time they say, "Oh, I forgot." "Oh, yeah, I saw it, but I forgot to record it." So wait, you had your app to record the thing, to locate it, and then you didn't have your phone? I thought your phone was your camera as well. Flatlander says, "I've seen and recorded a light that was supposed to be the ISS." So my response to you is, you're probably lying. Unless you can immediately respond with the time, longitude, latitude, I'm just going to assume that you're lying and I have to ask why. Because, first of all, what time was it? What time was it? That'd be the first thing I would ask you. But then, two, you said you recorded a light. I'd like to know how long the light was in your range of vision, range of view. A few questions. Anyway, it's so flippant though. People will say, "I recorded a light," and I'm like, no, that's not good enough. I have not found anyone who can stand up to scrutiny. Not one. Except for the paid government shill liars like Red's Rhetoric. Mr. Smudge. And these guys are deeply troubled by Mousegate. Flatlander says, "I can check the date and time." You can't give me a ballpark figure, can give me the city and the latitude. You would know this, and you know I'm right. And the fact that you don't have an answer right now. Okay. But we're not going to belabor the point. I mean, we know that you're probably just, um, I don't know, you're mandoozled. Okay, so check this out. I see we're joined by a certain person in the chat. Haven't seen him in a while. So I want to give you a heads up. So I have moved to a private blog as of the 1st. So if you want to follow my blog, you do have to go to timosman.space. I don't have the public blogs up anymore. I mean, I do, but I'm not adding to them. But let me just get to my point here. So my point is this. Dearth is insisting that there's an orbiting body out there in outer space, or not outer space, up there with the wandering stars, that they're misidentifying as a human-created space station. But then he contradicts himself majorly when he says this. When someone, as in Jaren, catches the space station transiting the sun or moon, it's not as bright as the other one, and nobody ever sees it approach the sun or the moon or exit it. This is just a parlor trick that NASA's doing with a smaller aircraft. So in this case, A smaller aircraft. So whenever somebody does a transit, they're just seeing a small aircraft. But the rest of the time, it's actually a real orbiting space station. Hey, Landon Marks, would you be willing to call in? Do you have the guts? We get these people who say these things like, you need help, you need to be put in a padded room. Okay, let's say that's true. Okay, because if you don't believe in climate change, you ought to be put in a padded room. Really. And in many ways, we could probably argue that if you still favor the Second Amendment and you are, white enough, you ought to be put on a domestic terrorist list. I mean, everybody can target anybody and say anybody ought to be locked up for their wrong think. And I don't get this 1984 bullshit. Like, are you an American, first of all? You get these Americans like, I don't agree with your opinions. It triggers me. I want you locked up. I used to have this editor from Reddit, Darren from Reddit, who used to say the same thing. He was like, well, you need to have Thorazine and you need to be locked up. You need to be put in a straitjacket. Why? Why? Because I don't have your religion. Because I know that these myths that you are taught to believe to be real are just hoaxes meant to set parameters on your thinking. I mean, it's all bullshit. We know what the bullshit is. But anyway, we're not here to really offend anybody. You want to believe in space stations, go for it. But anyway, let me explain what's going on with this thing. So what this YouTuber deep inside the rabbit hole is suggesting is that the space station is a hoax invented to hide a pre-existing orbiting object. But that whenever somebody records it transiting the sun or the moon, it is a man-made craft, a parlor trick by NASA. And this is what I have an issue with. There are no man-made crafts that can go 17,000 miles per hour. I got a guy here, I guess he's a constitutionalist or whatever, Juan. I bet you won't call in and defend your Second Amendment. A lot of you right-wingers are just some of the most cuckolded individuals out there. Like, I really hope Hillary Clinton wins. I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton just for all these keyboard warriors on the right. Like, don't talk about my Second Amendment. Like, fuck your guns. You think I give a damn about you? Your little opinions here? You're totally brainwashed. You're going to lose it anyway. And they're not going to have to take your guns because the next generation will hand them over because of all the drills and they've been conditioned. There's so much propaganda that they're going to say, oh, we don't want guns. Those things kill people. Those things are evil. Oh, we don't want capitalism. That's destroying the planet. It's not fair. We need communism. So it's like, it doesn't really matter what you think. They've already got the minds of the youth. Juan says, I'll call when you show your face, smart guy. I'm guessing that you're probably 98 pounds. Probably you got a bowl cut like Adam Lanza. I don't think you own a weapon. You probably couldn't make it through basic training, so you're probably not a vet. Total loser. He says, can you answer what the Second Amendment is? You can't call in. If you call in, Juan Balzac, if you call in, we'll talk. But I don't think you have the guts to call. I'm calling you out as a basement-dwelling keyboard warrior. A right-wing keyboard warrior. The worst kind. You probably believe in QAnon. He says you say the same things to everyone. Do I? No, I say the same things to all anonymous trolls who don't have spines. The fact that you can't call in, I mean, what does that say about you? I'd never have this happen. It'd be great if somebody that I totally hated or disagreed with said, hey, phones are open, call in and talk shit to me. Never happens. Never happens. And here I am opening it up, and then you, go ahead and go to bed, Juan. Good night. Everybody say good night, Juan. Make sure you have your gun under your pillow. You don't want the liberals to come in and take it. Like, I'm seriously going to support Hillary Clinton. Okay, let's get back on track here. No, it's a QAnon believer. QAnon believer. He's like offended. It's like, what does he want? These like Glenn Beck fans, they believe that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are these holy documents. Yeah, they don't have minutes on their phones or their girlfriend's asleep. It's like, really? So I'm so compelling. You're like, oh, like my girlfriend's right there in bed. But I'm going to go in my basement and I'm going to talk like a big shot to this anonymous guy on the internet at 3 a.m. Okay, so I didn't really get to this. I wanted to kind of explain what's going on here. It's not a huge deal, but it kind of is. We already knew this thing. Basically, this guy is suggesting that there's a pre-existing object that orbits and it explains the ISS. That when people see the ISS, they're seeing a pre-existing object. And I'm saying there is no object. Nobody's seeing anything up there. And the transits are all fake. But he's suggesting that, again, this doesn't make any sense. There's a pre-existing object, but if you record it, you're recording a smaller craft that's closer. A craft. It's a horrible contradiction. It makes no sense. Let me go ahead and see if anybody in the comments has any clue here. I kind of doubt it. Look, I blocked Juan, so if he's commenting, I can't see it. You guys just ban him or whatever. Apply but hurt self. Somebody triggered troll flakes. You know, I don't know. Like, what was his beef anyway? What was he so mad at? He can't call in, right? No, because of that guy, I'm going to vote for Clinton. I'm going to vote for whoever's going to take the guns. Oh, hey, Flatlander's got a video. Okay, so this is the guy who recorded the space station. I want to see what he's got here. I guarantee it's probably nothing, but we'll see. ISS caught on camera. So he even calls it ISS caught on camera. He even called it the ISS. And I always find this so strange. Why did you call it the ISS? This is very shilly, I have to say. Very shilly. Infinite Plane Radio. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, what's up, caller?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to discuss with you this the video of the ice. The rat video.
Yeah, what do you think about the rat?
Actually, there's a full video, and it clearly isn't a rat.
Did you
Like
see?
it's
Did you see the second video that it clearly is a rat, or are you only referring to the first video?
No. There's another video, and on the other side, like it shows two angles, and it's ice. It's like a piece of ice. It wasn't a rat.
You sure it's not a
It-
video
it-
compression artifact?
No, absolutely not. It's like because it goes back and forth between the two angles, and the one angle it's showing you like there's a piece there, and then the other angle is the angle that you watched.
Okay, check
And
this out. Check this out. I gotta ask you a question because I know your perspective. Trust me, I know all
No,
perspectives on how this thing's
it's
being
not
interpreted.
perspective. It's like it's video fact.
Okay, it's quote video fact. Right. Okay, well listen. There are more than one possibility. There's more than one possibility here. One, it's either a mouse on a rocket in space, or it's a mouse on a rocket not in space, or it's something that's not a mouse in space that's shaped like a mouse and behaving like a mouse, which is what you're asserting. So what you're saying that there is
No,
this.
there's no mouse.
Okay, no, but do you see the shape that looks and moves and acts like a mouse? Do you see that? Are you denying
Yes,
that?
but it's not a mouse.
But now, without saying the word "but," can you end with just one sentence? Like, can you
No.
agree with me that that thing does look like a mouse and moves like a mouse?
Why would that confirm or deny anything?
Can you
If
answer that?
something looks like something.
Because I'm hearing denial in your voice. The fact that you can't even admit that it moves like a
No,
mouse.
But would you watch the video?
I've watched the video. I parsed the video. I zoomed it in. I've got 50 versions of it.
No,
I
would
read
you
it.
watch the video that I'm talking about?
Yeah, I have. But before I do, I'll watch it again. But I want you to admit that
Can you watch it online on live for your people?
will you admit that this thing moves like a mouse?
How how does the mouse? I see. That's why you're trying to get me to like admit to something that, like, I'm not. I'll try to argue with you.
No, it's not an argument. I'm just trying to get you to admit that when you see the shape of this thing moving, does it register in your brain as a giraffe or a mouse?
It's it's a mouse.
That's all I wanted. That's all we can possibly say here is that that thing moves like a flippin' mouse. And its head, it looks left and right, the ears move like if I were to take this apart, I think there's about 72 frames here as an animation, and frame by frame it retains its integrity as a mouse. So you've got to say to yourself, this is a freaking miracle, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess like, but I saw the other video though, but there's no mouse. That's why I'm wondering, like there's no like you've seen the video I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've seen. Okay, look, Mick West from Metabunk. I contacted him and I said, "What the hell is it?" He said, first it's video compression, then later he said it's frozen oxygen concentrate. That's just breaking off, and that we're just seeing something there, like we see things in clouds.
I'd be. I'm not sure, but I mean, when you put the two videos together, you clearly can see like that. It's not a mouse though. That's what I mean. It might look like a mouse, but I'm just having a hard time like believing it now because like I believed you before, and I was with you 100%, and then the other video came out, and I just now I don't know how that you can continue to say these things about the mouse.
Well, if you look at the second video, because that was CRS-19, and are you aware of what was included in the cargo of CRS-19?
I think mice, correct?
Not any mice, genetically altered mice that they called Mighty Mouse. Now, what do you know about Mighty Mouse?
I'm unaware of anybody else.
Mighty Mouse is a mouse, a cartoon mouse, who is known for going into outer space. It's like Superman, but he's a mouse.
You're right.
So here you have.
So it's all symbolic. Like
It's
that's what I'm trying to.
so exactly. It's way too symbolic, I think, to be a coincidence. But I don't think it's a mouse. I think you're right. I think it's more likely to be not a mouse if it is in space. But here, there's a second video I just put on the screen, and this one came out on the 4th. It's by Critical Inception, and this one has a similar shaped piece of ice that moves in the same way,
Okay, I'm watching.
and it's in that little red circle there. And what you'll see is it'll pop its head out, and it still has the two ears like the other one, and then it runs back in. There it goes.
Oh wow.
That's a different launch. So here's what I'm thinking. This is my honest opinion now. I'm thinking that because the mouse looks too cartoony, and I've been looking at different types of mice on video. It's not the type of mouse they send up to space. So I think it's more likely that this is some type of inside joke by Elon Musk, who's a big fan
It
of.
has to be. It has to be.
He's a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and that movie is all about the end of the world. But before it ends, you find out that the mice are actually extremely intelligent pan-dimensional beings.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be some type of symbology. There's no way, because just the coding and the keywording is too obvious. The mouse, like being brought up every time. It's always the mouse. It's almost archetypal.
I think so. I'm looking at this like,
And,
hey, check, the name of the engine is called the
and it's
Merlin.
the year of the rat.
Year of the Rat, and the engine is Merlin. So there might be some symbolism there, because Merlin, the magician.
Absolutely. Like Houdini. So now I'm curious. What do you think about this Iran situation? What is your?
I think it's just wag the rat. I think Trump's just trying to distract people from Mousegate, or he's trying to get votes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it could. I don't know. So what does that mean for Earth, for the flat Earth movement?
Actually, I don't really think it means anything. I think it was all staged and fake on the world stage. I think it's World Wrestling Federation. I really do. I think what we're looking at is just more psychodrama, and it's all time for the election year. And I really don't think too much of it. I'm not bothered. I don't believe in nukes this election cycle. Like 4 years ago, I was like, we might get nuked. Now I'm like, those things are probably fake. So
I mean, they have to be. It's just a veiled threat.
yeah, now I do find it interesting that Iran's involved because I've been predicting that there would be a space war kicked off. The next 9/11 would be a space war, and this would put Iran, China, and Russia on one side of the fence against us.
Oh, absolutely. All in a war over nothing, over fake space.
Well, exactly, and this is no different than war over fake heaven. When all the people say, "What's with all these religious wars? Aren't we all going to the same heaven?" But ultimately, yeah, they're fighting over a utopian vision. Who has the best idea? Who has the best plan?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the United Nations, I believe.
Yeah, it is. And if you look at the United Nations attitude towards America, we're a pariah because 5% of the population, and yet we're like most of the pollution. And part of the space program is turning the world into a sustainable enclosed system. In other words, shutting off the capitalism because we're polluting the planet to death. And the UN agrees that we need to do something. And of course, the other nations in the space race don't agree with the American way of life, and they don't want us to Americanize space. So yeah, I'm kind of predicting that Iran might be a big player in this. They might even shoot down the space station. What do you think?
I mean, that could be. I mean, that could be the next 9/11. Is the and that would also make a terrestrial threat. And like it would make a threat. It would make an event in space, kind of like an international water situation. Now, something happens in space. Now there can be retaliation on Earth for that event.
Exactly, exactly. And then one of the things I pointed out too, and this is kind of hinted at, on the attack in Pensacola, there was a cyber attack, and there's also one in New Orleans where the 311 was shut off. And I think that was symbolic, and I called it at the time and I said, hey, space war is also going to be war in cyberspace. And what do you know? They're already talking about Iran engaging in cyber war against us as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the internet is. I mean, they're going to shut it down. It's going to be shut down. That's the next step. Is shut. I mean, it's already partially shut down.
Yeah, it already has. I mean, just the last year alone, we've seen. Yeah, listen to this article here from Futurism: How an Iranian cyber attack could affect you. Iran vows a crushing revenge, and America's on high alert for cyber attacks. So it's all in the scripting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can't. The whole world is a script, like you said.
Now we have this article here. See if you agree. This is BBC. An astronaut says aliens exist and could be here on Earth. What do you think about aliens existing here on Earth right now?
I mean, I think that's what they want us to believe. I mean, because it's all about planting the seed for the invasion. That's why they're hyping space. That's why they're, putting all this into the public sphere. They're making it so that when this happens, it's believable. I mean, now you have these individuals like Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, he was an actor. This individual literally was an actor, and still is an actor actually. But these people are implanting this idea, and when it happens, that gives them the authority and that gives them the credence to then act on this. So hypothetically, let's say we're hearing the news about aliens possibly being amongst us. Well, now all they have to do is implant another story that it's really happening, or
Well,
some
there
fabricated proof.
there was a study that was saying that from like 2010 to about 2019, there was a drop in the number of UFO sightings, and I kept pointing this out, saying, "What's up with this? Where people now have high definition phones in their pockets, and nobody's recording flying saucers anymore." And then this year, they said 2019 was a big year for UFO sightings, and you're right, they've been pushing it out in 2019 more than they have any other year.
Oh, I mean, absolutely, it's coming. This is a synchronistic year. The 2022, Jay-Z 444. All these divisors. It's all scripted. It's all plotted already. So like you said, anything in the news is already compromised. You have to auto hooks. There's nothing that's in the public sphere that is not fabricated or contaminated with this this bacteria of the elite, control, this grid. They're building a grid. They're shutting the internet down. All communications are tapped and filtered via the quantum computers. We're being, I think the alien is going to be the quantum computer. They're going to build there's going to be some type of cyborg. They're already doing it now. They have this technology to build these flesh-like duplicates, et cetera, et cetera. So all they need to do is couple that with the mechanical technology, and then insert this being, I guess, if you will. I mean, are you familiar with CERN at all?
Yeah, what do you think about CERN? I've looked into it a bit, and honestly,
Well,
I think it's clearly a postmodern art project. But what's the reality behind it?
this is what I'm getting at. Is now once they have this grid, okay, so they have the internet. The internet will then be, it could already be connected, but now imagine the internet being able to be utilized by a single individual in real time. So now you have a cyborg with all the computing power, knows every language, every dialect, every word, every historical event, can reference anything, infinite knowledge, and simultaneously, with everything being connected to this internet, they're finding tons of things that are insecure with the internet. So now this being could potentially utilize all of this. He could shut down power grids, shut down, or there's so many things that could be done. But I think that's the direction that we're going in. This alien could be a supercomputer. It's
Interesting.
here already.
Interesting. So, in other words, it just needs kind of like what Elon Musk has been talking about for a while. He's been discussing this idea of more or less like not an alien invasion from another planet, but more or less like that movie Mad Max. I don't know if you've seen it, Stephen King, where all the appliances pretty much just become possessed by something
Oh,
from.
no, that's over maximum overdrive.
That's the one, Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, that movie. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But instead of a spiritual possession, it's a physical or an electrical possession. Like this energy will basically the CERN is gathering this information. They're understanding the universe, but at the same time building batteries, building new technology. So they have infinite energy at CERN, and I'm at the point where I don't even believe that the electrical grid is real itself. I do believe that the Tesla coil has been harnessed, and we're paying for free energy right now because I think that's ultimate deception. So now you couple this, we can't have the internet is shutting it down. Google is, basically the internet. They have all the control, all the power, all the metadata. Once that is connected to the supergrid, this consciousness, CERN itself is claimed that they are doing things beyond science. On paper, quoted, saying that what they're doing is borderline spiritual. So how can, and this goes back to the aliens, how can the same people that for years have been telling us that they understand the definitive, then how can they now tell us that aliens could exist when years they were denying us, years they're ridiculing us, people for sightings, and now all of a sudden so that's how I know as soon as the mainstream starts speaking of it, then that's when it's fabricated completely.
Yeah, that's a good right there. I agree. That's a good approach. Pretty much everything you see in the news media can be treated more or less as predictive programming. It's part of a script leading somewhere. And really quick, I want to give a shout out to Brian Aker. He's out there in YouTube land, and his wife. They live down by a river in Canada. They're listeners. Anyway, so yeah, what do you think about this? So if they stage a UFO invasion, let's just say they bring out these like very realistic looking saucers that are probably just blimps or whatever. But if they shut off the internet and they stage a UFO invasion, do you think that they've pretty much got the special effects down pat to where nobody's going to think it's fake?
Absolutely. I mean, if you reference Project Bluebeam, that plane was leaked years ago, over a decade ago, at least 2 decades ago, I would say, and that clearly, showed that they have the framework ready to, project images in the sky, auditory hallucinations sent to you immediately. So, I mean, there are so many different ways, but, possibly the chemtrails they've been spraying for years and years and years, inserting this medium into the atmosphere possibly could be projected upon. So maybe something like that, I definitely believe it would be believable. They're doing holograms, and they're very beyond us. So I don't think it would be far fetched to manipulate some type of matter in real time. I mean, the towers, Twin Towers were, I don't believe ever fell. If they could do something like that, they're 30 years ahead already. So if they can disintegrate a building, obviously we will believe it. It would not be that hard to levitate a disc. So, and we don't even know what these individuals are. So they could put anything in front of our face and tell us what it is, and we will believe it.
Yeah, I always hated to think that way, but I like to reference this movie, The Village, where it shows how you could have a completely controlled society if you basically control the frame of reference. So what you had was a commune in the middle of a wilderness, and the older people didn't tell the youth that there was a world outside of the wilderness, so they were living in this 18th century village. Meanwhile, just 20 miles away, they were just regular cities, but they would never know because they were lied to about the nature of the world. And so, could we be 200 years behind the people that control us, you think? Or the
Oh,
equivalent?
absolutely. We are. I mean, there's no time frame you can place on it. I mean, infinite knowledge and infinite wisdom, is timeless. It's priceless. So, I do believe that is a secret. We have these people who understand the fabric of reality. They understand the nature of our divinity, yet with this secret gives them this power. So if we were given the truth and told the truth, we would live righteous. But we're not being told the truth. We're being told lies, and the people who know the truth are not telling us the truth. And it's like what? It's like you have three people, and two of them are bickering about something, and the third knows the truth. Yet the third sits idle and lets the two kill each other, all when it could have been solved. But the reason they were fighting wasn't even either of their faults. But yet they died. They shed blood over this. Yet the third person did nothing. Who's to blame? So, I think we have a scenario like this happening. The world is so complex. And even at the top, I do believe there are still people being deceived at the top levels.
Yeah, it wouldn't
So
surprise
who
me.
really knows the truth?
Yeah, I think it's so compartmentalized at some point where when people say for sure it's this group or that group, I'm like, I don't know. It could be several different factions, but we don't have enough information right now, and clearly it's being hidden from us, and we can't trust the news, so why would we trust the history? So yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable saying I don't know a lot of the stuff that I used to think that I had adequate answers for.
Absolutely. I mean, everything disintegrates at some point. It's almost as if you forget the reasoning. Why? you begun in the first place. This once you embark on this journey, of knowledge, really seeking like the core of everything. These things don't matter anymore. Aliens, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing could save you from this ultimate reality. So, but we all have to live in this ultimate reality. So, if we're going to live here, we must do the best we can to bring light and positivity to the world, and leave it and fight for this. It is not futile to fight for good. So, we're doing the right thing here.
I think so too. I think having a lot of tolerance for ideas is important. And I butt heads with people who want to censor people they don't agree with. And it's like, well, if you're gonna start censoring other people, everybody censors somebody else, then we have nothing left. And they've destroyed YouTube. So we're rebuilding now off YouTube. But we've seen, just in the last year, how if people allow their destructiveness to get over, their envy to get control, they'll burn everything down instead of just respecting content creators that they don't agree with. Even
Absolutely. I mean, what do you think is happening with the YouTube now? All these protections for children now. This is directly a result from this Jeffrey Epstein pedophilic enterprise. Because now the same individuals who were digging information and making diligent factually cited works are now being held under more scrutiny because of these strict guidelines. You can't, there's certain words you can't say, and so in order to even discuss these issues and shed light on the truth is now a crime according to YouTube standards. So it's very shocking, and there's nothing left at this point. They've built up a system where they've built the web for us, and now we're stuck inside of the web. It's classic.
Yeah, describing reality accurately is a crime, and not.
Yes, absolutely. So now they have to impose these standards on you, and once they've aggregated all the attention and given us something that we've shown to enjoy and to be functional, then that's when they they're not going to cut the well short. They're going to wait to see how much money comes before they rob you. They're not just going to go rob a house. They're going to case the house. They're going to see if anything's valuable. Why would they take a blind chance and rob someone? So when it comes to YouTube, they've allowed it to flourish and allowed it to become the new television. And now once they have that control, they can then really cut the voices of people telling the truth and censor them.
Oh, sure.
It's the only medium.
And one thing I observed in the area that I'm involved in is they most definitely put people in the field of provocateurs to push the line to justify even more censorship. They get people to agree with it. Like, oh, we need to silence the neo-Nazis. We need to silence the Black Hebrew Israelites. And they just one after another shine a spotlight on some group that not a majority of the people are going to identify with and defend. And yeah, systematically they have been chopping it down. But I feel like with this channel, at least, we've moved outside of it.
Oh, I mean, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you've been under constant attack. Every time I try to find a video, it's gone. In your case. And sometimes channels, all these things are happening, because of these strict guidelines. And you're not doing anything wrong. Yet, by using certain words or I mean, it seems like even just the existence of this society is a threat for some reason to YouTube. Like, Jeranism is still a channel. Why, he says things. Other people are still channels. What is the... that's how you know something is happening.
Oh, I have a
That's
theory.
How you know.
I have a theory that they had this controlled dialectic where they had the flat Earth society and then they have the Globe Society or the Planetary Society. They had this dialectic where it was always going to be black and white, and so then there was no one giving any specific model to the idea that maybe there isn't a model yet. And so Infinite Plane Society was meant to be an incursion to break up their dialectic, and I think it worked. And I think that the name alone is probably the reason, one of the main reasons they hate us. The big channels will not say Infinite Plane Society. They will not mention it by name. They got orders.
Oh, I mean, absolutely, yeah. It's control. Even Alex Jones, he like, excuse me. Alex Jones is a prime example. I mean, he was the one who was, the poster child for this movement, for everything to do with truth, allegedly, of revealing the corruption, etc. So now you have this individual demonized and, made a mockery of himself and gave all of the people that followed him, the same categorization and the same, level of scrutiny, and these people are looking past the truth because all they see is Alex Jones, and now he's been deplatformed. So now, not only has he been deplatformed, but now this initiates a trend in acceptance of of uh, of regulating people, essentially by their views. If their view is unpopular,
Yeah, let me
then
ask you.
they can be
Wait,
deplatformed.
how come that guy is said to represent you? Because you don't trust the news, obviously. You question things. You don't trust the official version of 9/11. So now Alex Jones represents you.
Well, I'm just giving an example of the truth movement,
No,
etc.
what I'm saying though is like, who elected him? I never said that that
No
guy
one.
stands
I'm
for
just
me.
saying. I'm
And
just exactly. That's my whole point.
exactly, they
Is
imposed
that
him on you.
he was pushed to the forefront for a
Yep.
reason.
Yep.
He was, he a lot of what he said is true, but coming from his vessel now is discredited. So all the things that he said that were true are now invalid. Also, while he's exaggerated, he's made false claims. All these things get coupled in with the truth in a muddy mixture. So now, the points he made that universally were valid are now invalidated, and by deplatforming him and no one saying anything about it, and people accepting it and applauding it, now that same strategy is being applied to others, and that is dangerous because we need to be, like you said. I believe that if a neo-Nazi would, I have no right to say anything to anyone about what they say, as long as it does not infringe upon your physical body or cause harm to you. So anyone can have an opinion about anything, and they should have an opinion and have a platform, because there should be no double standard. It should be all one.
Well, look, hey,
Unpopular and popular.
the double standard is not going to change. The best thing that we can do though is just jump over that particular barrier, which we've already done as a channel. And these days, we get more traffic now that I'm on 9 different platforms than when I was on YouTube. And YouTube is where the government trolls spend all their time. Anyway, I'm going to be got a couple of the people trying to call in right now. So overall, though, what's your take on this mouse thing? So originally you called in, and I brought it up again. What's most likely? Do you think is this an inside joke, or are we seeing things?
I'm definitely thinking it's an inside joke. I mean, as you said before, everything is contrived, everything is staged, everything is essentially a hoax. So I don't believe any piece of footage that we're given. So no, I'm saying that it was neither a mouse nor it was ice. Rather, this entire thing is just a complete fabrication. They're controlling the narrative from point A to B. So
Exactly.
that's my take on it.
Cool, man. Well, I'm
So
with you on
I
that.
thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the call. I appreciate it, and have a great night.
Yes, you as well. Thank you.
Yeah, look, hey, there's no easy answer to it. We know what it looks like. We know what it sounds like. So anyway, I'm gonna be taking off now, but make sure you subscribe. I am gonna be rebroadcasting some point tomorrow, tonight, and the earlier conversation about the mudflood.org. This is going out to all of the. I mean, there's so many of them, so many troll flakes out there. And look, I have to say, if you guys are out there on YouTube and you're making trolly comments or whatever, I probably blocked you and I probably couldn't see you, so I'm sorry. I opened the phones. A lot of keyboard warriors uh, don't like to call, and I wonder why. Do they need a voice app so they can sound like Rambo? These keyboard warriors, they have like squeaky voices. Like, what's really the deal? Anyway, this goes out to all of the troll flakes.
Snakes.